All right, guys, we're back. We were gone last week, but we were actually all together last week, which was so much fun. We got our families together. Joe hosted a gathering at a camp in northern Minnesota, and oh my goodness, it was so fun, which is also why I got some dark coloring. We spent a lot of time in the sun. It was just wonderful. So, and
we went sailing.
Yes,
that was good. I loved it. We had we had one good sailing day. It was great.
I did not get sailing, but I was playing lots of golf and a little bit of tennis, and that was a great time.
And having birthday parties.
Yeah, birthday parties.
It was Joe's birthday.
Yeah, we got to find those little, you know what I'm talking about.
I had mine right here. I think Selah stole it. Nope, not it. Oh. She did.
Oh, Selah.
Nope. Girl. Update. Found it.
We have a great picture of
blame it on Selah.
There we go. Yep. So the whole team had these little cutouts of my head, and when I came to breakfast on my birthday, they were singing happy birthday, holding up these little, whatever you call it, face cardboard cutouts. It was felt really strange to walk into a room and see yourself in multiple places, and so, but that was pretty fun.
It's deja vu all over again.
Yeah, kind of scary. Well, what was really scary was Leslie's daughter, Selah. We got a great picture. We might have to share that on our Facebook page. But how old is she? 9?
Yes.
Like 9 is the best age. And so
let me preface this whole. Hold on. We had a family trip right before this trip, and my children set their alarms early to go fishing. They went to bed super late. Very little sleep happens in about a week.
Yeah.
So everyone got the best version of my children.
Yeah. Okay. Well, so we have a great picture of Selah holding a knife in her toes and sitting next to me with her leg in the air, looking at me like she's about to stab me with the knife. It was hilarious. So we'll share it.
But I think Jill may have encouraged her to be a little crazy.
We might be a little crazy together. So good stuff. All right. I suppose we should probably get down to the business here while we're here. So welcome, everybody. This is the Fixed Blood Sugar webinar, and this is episode number 97. Good old 97. That was the year I graduated from college. So funny little story. I started college in 1991, and usually in 6 years, you can get like a master's degree. Well, not me. It took me, I like to say I squeezed a 4-year degree into 6 years. And meanwhile, my wife squeezed a 4-year degree in 3 years. She's 3 years younger than me, so we graduated on the same day together. It was just harmonious, you know?
That's awesome.
Yeah. So anyways, I wasn't necessarily the best student. I didn't know what I wanted to be when I grew up. And it actually took me 7 years after college to figure out that I was supposed to be doing what I'm doing today. So anyways, all good. And I don't know why I shared that story other than episode 97. So here we go. Today we're going to talk about the basics of type 2 reversal. And, let me just start by saying, if you are wondering if type 2 diabetes can be reversed using natural remedies, I am here to tell you with 100% confidence that yes, it can be. So that's what this diabetes solution kit is all about. It shows the 3-phase program, phase 1, 2, and 3, on how to get your blood sugars into normal range. And so that's what we talk about on these webinars. These webinars are free. We encourage our customers to join them and get your questions answered, and also be reminded of the main things that we talk about in here and how to do it. So we get testimonials all the time. In fact, if you're watching this and you have a testimonial, we'd love to hear from you. Put it in the chat. Tell us your before and answer story. Like, where were you when you started? Maybe it's your blood sugar numbers. Maybe it's your weight. Maybe it's how you were feeling in life. A lot of people think like that. They think that there's no hope for them. And that's one of the key foundations of our company is delivering hope and healing. And we love to give people hope, to know that diabetes is not a death sentence. It doesn't have to be. And you can do things that are simple, not necessarily easy, but they're simple. And if you do them, you'll get great results. So anyways, that's what we're here for. Dr. Saunders, you are the man, the myth, the legend. You're not really a myth, like you're right here. So we are blessed to have Dr. Saunders. He is a great friend of us personally and of our company. We've been working together since 2007 when God put us together at a breakfast table at a conference. And it's been awesome working together. He is a wealth of knowledge of functional medicine, functional health, really, using natural remedies to overcome health problems. And so we're going to turn it over to you, Dr. Saunders. Today is Type 2 Basics. Let's get a disclaimer in there as well, but take it away.
Okay, so the disclaimer is that the information that you're getting here is general and should apply generally to many people, but may not apply to you specifically. That's the problem with general information, is that that you can't necessarily apply it to any one individual, although most people, it will apply to most people. So before you do anything rash, make sure that it applies to you. And sometimes you may need help with a professional, with your doctor or practitioner, whoever you're working with, to see if that's the right thing for you. So generally, type 2 is a problem of too much. And we've talked about this before, but it's been a while. So I think it's important that we emphasize this again, that there are what we call deficiency diseases. And those are things where you don't have enough. So if you don't have enough vitamin B12, you're likely to get things like neuropathy and anemia. And so you won't have enough oxygen in your blood, and you won't make enough energy very well, and your nerves will start not functioning well, and your brain won't function well because you need that vitamin B12 to make energy in your body. If you have a lack of iron, then you also get anemia. If you don't have enough magnesium, you can get all kinds of things, because magnesium is part of over 300 different enzymes. So those are diseases. If you've ever heard of scurvy, scurvy is just a lack of vitamin C. And it used to be a very common problem because people didn't get fresh anything very often. And so they would live on things like hardtack and meat. And if you cook the meat, then the vitamin C is pretty much gone. So people got from a lack of vitamin C, especially sailors, because sailors, they had to have things that would store well. So they had dried foods and, dried meats and stuff like that. So they would get scurvy easily, lack of vitamin C, and their bodies would fall apart and they would die. And in some cases, on a long voyage, the ship would come back with half the crew, the other half having died of scurvy, and they were thrown overboard. A lot of people don't know it, but Captain Cook, that sailed around the world, he had to change out his crew more than once because most of them or all of them died of scurvy. This was a big problem. Well, now we know vitamin C, so we have these vitamin C pills we can pop all the time. And we have fresh fruits and vegetables year round, so we don't hardly see that much at all. But those are diseases of deficiency where you don't have enough. There are also diseases of too much. These are also called diseases of toxicity. So if you're toxic on something, then you have too much of it, and it causes other kinds of problems. If you have too much lead in your body, then your nerves won't work. If you have, you can have too much of really just about anything. If you have too much vitamin B, B9, folic acid, you can inhibit your vitamin B12 and actually cause neuropathy because you have too much of that vitamin B9. if you have too much of a mineral called selenium. Now, selenium is essential for functioning. Without it, you don't function. You don't make glutathione. You don't detox, and you'll die. You need it. But if you get too much, you get cancer and heart disease, and you stop making energy. It can be very toxic. You absolutely have to have manganese for your energy functions. But if you have too much, you get Parkinson's disease. So there's always this level of too little, and then enough, and then too much. And so diabetes type 2 is the too much part. Too much what? Well, too much energy. That's the simplest way to put it, too much energy. Now, there's, of course, a lot of other factors involved, such as the exercise and stress level. We had a huge or another webinar completely devoted to stress. There are other factors of hormones and things like that. But essentially, the root problem of type 2 is too much energy, too much fat, too much carbohydrate, too much protein. And that usually shows up because there's so many carbs involved as an excess of carbs. So if you were to cut out almost all the fat, you could get your diabetes under control. If you were to cut out almost all your protein, you would also get your diabetes under control. If you were to cut out almost all the carbohydrate, you would also get your diabetes under control. If you were to lower your energy of all three of them dramatically, that could work too. But we've chosen in the Diabetes Solution Kit a program that applies to most people. Most people do really well with doing a low carb diet. Why the low carb? Because carbohydrates stimulate the production of insulin. And over time of having this excessive toxic amount of energy, carbohydrates, fats, and proteins, insulin is made, and more insulin is made. And so you get insulin resistant. And so you have this high level of insulin. And since carbohydrates are the primary producers of insulin, you cut out the carbs and you gradually lower the insulin down. And then you don't become insulin resistant. You can reverse the entire process. So that's why we've chosen this program. So we've had people say that, well, what about the other program and that and this and that? Well, that's fine. And those can work too. Just like I said, it's really a combination of factors that are involved. And lowering stress helps, and all of that, hormone balances and all that can help. But we've chosen this program because most people can do it. It applies to most people. It's easy to do. You go down, you read the book and you go, I can do this. But I can still eat meat. I could have salads. I could have my salmon. I can have a salmon salad. I can eat my broccoli and cabbage and lettuce and spinach, and I can have good meals and not be hungry all the time, and still lower the insulin resistance and gradually reverse that diabetes process. So there has to be a way to do that one way or another. When you're toxic on something, if I was toxic on manganese, what do I got to do? Well, I got to get rid of all the manganese in my diet. That's the first thing to do, right? I got to get rid of it. If I was toxic on lead, same thing. Selenium, same thing. It doesn't matter what it is. If I'm toxic on it, I got to get rid of it. That's the same thing with diabetes. So that's what we do. The very basic program is cut out those carbs so you lower your insulin levels so you get sensitive to your insulin over time. So then it allows your metabolism to function normally and you detox. So if you consider the phase 1 of this program is simply a detox. So how long does it take? Everybody asks, how long? Well, it takes anywhere from, we've had people write in and say, 2 weeks, I started the program and now all my numbers are normal. Okay. Other people are like, I've been doing this for 3 months. My numbers still aren't normal. Why? Because it all depends on your hormones, how long you've had it, how much you have, how much insulin resistance you have. I've had people who make, so a normal amount of insulin is about 5-ish, 3 to 6, up to 10 may be normal. And most people with insulin resistance are kind of in the 20s, maybe up to the 30s of insulin levels. I've had people who were 160, and it took them 9 months to get their insulin levels down into the normal range, a little over 10. Not the optimal range, just in the normal range. So it depends. There's so many factors involved, and there's other reasons for that too. We talked about stress levels. If you have high stress levels, it's going to take a lot longer. It can still work, but it'll take a lot longer. If you deal with the stress, then it'll go a lot faster. So phase 1 is simply a detox. That's all you're doing. You're detoxing from all of those toxic levels of carbohydrates primarily that you had in the past. So that's it in a nutshell. It's really quite simple.
Very cool. Very good. I love it. There's lots of great stuff you covered there. And we're getting some really good questions in here, Leslie, that we could probably tie into this discussion as we go. And usually what happens is we get a couple of good questions and then more questions are spurred or come up out of the discussion. And so since it is type 2 basics, let's get to the questions. And if you're watching, if you have any questions of your own, we want to give you time to enter those into the Q&A section or into the chat. Q&A section is probably a little easier for us to navigate and the way that Zoom works. Also, if you're on Facebook, you can enter your questions in the comment section as well. So let's get rolling. And maybe we should talk about a couple of these testimonials came in, because wow, did I read some good ones. So Leslie, why don't you go ahead and read a couple of those?
Awesome. And guys, keep sending us your testimonials, your stories, how it's going, because it's encouragement to the other people that are watching. Some people feel hopeless or like there isn't an opportunity to make the change. And so we need to hear from you. It's one thing for us to tell you, or for Dr. Saunders to tell you he has people that it works for. We want to hear from the real people. So, and not that Dr. Saunders would ever tell you things that weren't true, but it's good to hear from those who are hopping on. I didn't mean that, but I know how it is because I've been in your shoes. I've been the patient saying, yeah, right, sure, I can reverse this disease or change my life. Okay, but it's good to hear from you. So thank you guys for sending these. Mohammed says, since I have been following your suggestions, my A1C has been reduced from 8.3 to 6.3. Thanks to you all.
Wow, that's great. So that's 6.3 is still a little elevated, but that's non-diabetic, by the way.
Wow,
that's really good.
Yeah, that's great. Wow, great progress.
Okay, let's see. Paul says, okay. See, it's hard for me to read over on this side. I'm just gonna read a few of these that I posted over here quick. Sorry, guys. Connie, this is awesome. I was about to give up on getting healthy because you hear and read so much stuff out there. And then she caught us on Facebook. My blood sugar was running in the 300s and I really didn't feel good, but I didn't know where to turn. I have been taking Cinachroma and turmeric BP now for about 6 weeks, and my blood sugar has dropped down into the 100s, and my blood pressure has been around 118/68. Praise God, and thank you guys for the work that you do and are sharing with us and the public so that we can have fresh hope.
Woo-hoo!
Wow, that's great.
Amazing.
Way to go, Connie. That's awesome. Love hearing it.
So good. Okay, and another one from Brian. They just keep coming. Brian says 58, taking Cinechroma and Nervala. Recently had my 6-month checkup after type 2 diagnosis. A1C 13.4 to 5.3.
Wow.
Wow. Wow.
13.
And then
Wow.
not only that, guys, not only that, 260 pounds to 190 pounds.
Wow.
Wow.
70 pounds down. That's awesome.
And then
Okay,
he
so-
also said triglycerides 212 to 69, glucose 271 to 79.
Woo-wee.
Okay, so for every measure, he had diabetes and now he doesn't.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Now you know what to do. You know, you've graduated. Now you know what to do.
Yeah. And we've talked about this before, and I like how you said it. Like, his diabetes is in remission. Like, we don't want to say that it's completely gone, because if somebody goes back and does the same things they were doing before, then the diabetes most likely will come back, right?
Yeah.
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 But the thought of it being in remission, kind of like, I mean, usually you hear about cancer being in remission, and like, that is what you want to hear from the doctor. Like, and the way you said it was like, yeah, you have cancer, but we can't find it anywhere. So it's like,
Exactly.
okay, do you really even have it then? So yeah, if you can't find it, if all the testing shows you don't have it, then there you go. So that's awesome. Those are some of the biggest swings in numbers I've ever seen. So yeah,
It's amazing.
awesome.
Congratulations.
And that just shows, like, everybody watching this that wonders, like, I don't know, I might be too far advanced, or my numbers might be too bad. Like, I don't think I can get back down into normal. That's baloney. Like, it's like legit proof right here. People just typing it in and saying, here's my story, and you can do this too. So just do the program. So Dr. Saunders, real quick, what is the program? What is phase 1? How are they doing this?
Okay. So what they're doing is they're taking out carbohydrates out of their diet. And in phase 1, you learn how to count carbs. And you count carbs by looking at the types of carbohydrates that you make into sugar. So that would be sugar itself, sucrose, glucose, honey, all of the other sugars, and then also starches, because starches are made into sugar too. So things like potato starch and corn starch, all of those are made into sugar too. But there's other kinds of carbohydrates like fiber that we don't use for energy, but our good bacteria in our intestines do. So we need that kind of carbohydrate. We need more of that. So what do you get to eat? You get to eat things like broccoli and celery and lettuce and spinach and raw carrots, things that are high in fiber and low in carbohydrate energy. And so you have all this free food that you can eat. You can eat as much lettuce as you want. You can have as much celery as you want, and spinach and broccoli. You can have all of that you want. You don't even have to count that as a carb. And then there are carbs that you count as carbs. If you have a slice of bread, that could be about 20 grams of carbohydrates right there. And so that would be your entire day's supply. If you were to eat like 1.5 apples, that would be your entire 20 grams of carbohydrates for a whole day. So what do you eat instead? Well, you have all the free carbohydrates. And then you have meat. Meat doesn't have carbohydrates, so you're okay with fish and chicken and beef. And then things like fats, you can have avocados, are excellent source of fat without adding significant amounts of carbohydrates. So you learn how to count carbs, and you learn what is a good carb versus bad carb. And then how to apply that to your own diet. And that's phase 1. It's really simple. And so then you lower that as much as possible. We say at least keep it below 20, but if you want to go down below that, that's okay too. And so what you're doing is you're stopping the insulin from being produced. So after your blood sugars are consistently, your morning fasting blood sugars are consistently in the 70 to 90 range, after about a week or 2 weeks or so, then you start on phase 2. And phase 2, you're still measuring, but you're adding things in. So you add something like beans. Some people tolerate beans really well, but beans do have carbohydrates, and some people, their blood sugar shoots up with beans. So they go, well, I can't have that very well. And some people tolerate like garbanzo beans, but they don't tolerate pinto beans. So, or they tolerate whole beans, but not refried beans or whatever. So now, phase 2 is you're going to make the program work for you. Now it's going to be individualization. You're gonna make this personalized program. Okay, so you're going to know what works for you and what doesn't work for you. When I eat this, I get a higher blood sugar. So you want to keep your blood sugar still in that 70 to 90 range. And if it's above that, then you look back the day before. Okay, what did I eat? This and this. Okay, so it seems like every time I have, I don't know, apples or fruit or whatever it is, then it goes up, or watermelon or bananas. So I got to stay away from more of that. And that's how you do it. You individualize the program. Then phase 3 is, this is the rest of my life. This is the way I eat the rest of my life, because you've gone through phase 2 and you've increased the types of foods that you eat and the types of carbohydrates you eat. You know what you tolerate. So if you were to go to a restaurant, you would know what to order, because you say, well, this is what I can eat, and this is what I do well on. Simple program, 3 phases.
It really is. Okay, so I got something else to say. So we've had customers mention Synachroma, turmeric BP, Nervala, and I think healthy gut support possibly, or we talked about digestion. But if you're interested in learning more about any of the Barton Nutrition supplements, which is on my hat here, just go to bartonnutrition.com, and you can use a coupon code webinar25, and you'll save 25% off any of your purchases today on bartonnutrition.com. Also found on bartonwebinar.com at the bottom. But and so Synachrome is for blood sugar. This is for nerve pain. This is for digestion. And all of these are really good for metabolism and blood sugar as well. So check that out. The other thing I just wanted to say was I just finished a program that I did. It was a 75-day challenge. I lowered my carbs down to about 50 grams per day, which for me was like about 1/4 of what my normal carb intake is. And I lost 16 pounds, and I feel way better. I have a lot better energy. And I was doing some other things too. It's kind of a mental toughness challenge, I guess you could say, adding more personal discipline and habits to my life. But it was kind of a cool opportunity for me to see what it's like to eat lower carb. I don't have diabetes or anything like that, but like to actually kind of walk in your shoes. And I think what I learned is that it's really helpful to have like a daily checklist. Like you can use the Diabetes Solution Kit as a workbook, but like every day, it's something I noticed that we might be missing actually. So I'm working on a new product that's going to be kind of like a daily journal and a checklist, because I think there's power in having that progress and momentum, like every single day. Okay, I limited my carbs to 20 grams, and I went to bed on an empty stomach at 10 o'clock, and I took my supplements, and I got a good night's sleep, and I drank a gallon of water or whatever it might be. So, and those types of things. So anyways, just wanted to share that, let you know that we're working on something like that, and I'll probably be asking for your feedback as we develop that in the future. So anyways, I better be quiet. Leslie, let's get back to those questions. I'm just going to check myself out here.
Oh, this is good. Don't check out. Okay. Let's see. Connie says she's kind of wondering what's the best time of day to take supplements like immune support, synachroma, turmeric BP. She just wondered if it might be effective to take those at different times.
Not necessarily. Synachroma is best taken in the morning. That's when you start eating in the morning, and that's when your cortisol gets up, and that's when you have more insulin resistance. So synachroma is better taken in the morning with food. The other ones, turmeric BP, it doesn't matter. You can take that any time of day or night. It lowers inflammation, and just fine. The other ones, Nervala, doesn't matter either. And healthy gut support should be taken with meals because it has enzymes to help digest those meals. So, it's better to take healthy gut support one with each meal. Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. Paul says, I have been on the diabetes solution kit for 6 months and was able to get off my metformin. I was disappointed when my latest A1C test showed an increase from 6.8 to 7. Is this normal, and should I be overly concerned with the increase?
Yes and no. Yes, it can be normal, but yes, you should also be concerned. You should also say, wait a minute, it went up because, okay, I went off my metformin, and that means my blood sugars are going up, which means I'm not controlling my blood sugar very well. So if you look at it from that point of view and say, okay, what can I do differently to bring this down? You know, where am I getting the extra carbohydrates, for example, that cause the blood sugar to go up? Or consider something else, and that is sometimes people get more insulin resistance from eating fat. So if you're living on bacon and sausage and cheese omelets all the time, you may find that all that extra fat, even though you're not getting a lot of carbs, that extra fat might make you more resistant to insulin and cause your blood sugar to go up. So sometimes you have to go more towards the salads and vegetables than the high meat and fat or fatty meats kind of thing. So protein and vegetables is a better choice than high fat. So look into that. Those are a couple of things. Where's the carbohydrate coming from, and is there excess fat?
Okay, Brian says he gave us a great testimonial about he's taking synachroma and Nervala at the 6 months checkup. All of his numbers were great, but he's wondering what else he could be doing to take care of his neuropathy.
Okay, Nervala is great for neuropathy. You know what? If you still have issues with neuropathy, sometimes vitamin B12 shots. But taking a pill, you absorb very small amounts of it, so it helps and it'll raise your levels over time. But there's something about getting a shot that wakes up nerves. So try getting a vitamin B12 shot. Ask your doctor to give you a vitamin B12 shot. That I've done that with a lot of patients, and sometimes that works. And the way I would do it is once a week for about 5 to 9 weeks, depending on how it was working or what it did. People usually, the first time they get a shot, if they need it, they'll go, wow, that made a big difference. Like I slept all night, or I started getting feeling back in my feet, or, you know, something. They'll notice a difference. I had one woman, she got a vitamin B12 shot and she started having bowel movements. She was getting chronic, terrible constipation. And so she was using these laxatives all the time, and she got a B12 shot. And she said, I started having bowel movements, and then I didn't. So I need another B12 shot. Gave her another B12 shot. She started having bowel movements again. And so that now she just gives herself a vitamin B12 shot every couple of weeks, and it keeps her regular. Who knew? But so sometimes stimulating the nerves would be something like that. Other things are anything that improves blood flow. So improving blood flow means magnesium. And you can use the magnesium spray, especially like on your lower extremities, to dilate those blood vessels and help the blood to flow better. Heat, taking baths, massage can be helpful. Acupuncture is actually really good at improving blood flow and can help neuropathy a lot. So those are some ideas.
It's interesting. That's good. Okay, let's see. Mike says, I have a question for Dr. Saunders. I'm trying extremely hard to manage my blood sugar by removing all sugar and most carbs. I definitely feel better now. My endo quack said you don't have any neuropathy, and we determined 0 issues with an overactive bladder. My A1C is 5.7, and it's pre-diabetic. I'm usually around 100 to 140. Is this normal? Will my A1C ever change with these numbers? Thank you, and God bless you all.
Okay, your A1C should definitely change. 5.7 is that borderline of what we call pre-diabetes. And it's on the lower side of that borderline of pre-diabetes. So it's actually not bad, but yeah, the optimum range to be is around 5.0. So if you want to get it down to there, then going back on the phase 1 of the program and lowering the carbs even more, or looking also again at that same thing. If there's a lot of fat in your diet, you may be creating more insulin resistance because fat blocks the muscles from bringing sugar in, so it raises the insulin resistance problem. So there's possibly 2 issues here, but absolutely your hemoglobin A1C should be able to get down to 5.0.
Okay, David is wondering the next time he's in California, how can he make an appointment to see you?
Okay, my office number is 805-688-7171, and they should be able to set you up.
All right. I think I have that, so I can post that. Let's see. Can diabetics use monk fruit as a sweetener?
Oh, that's a great question. Okay. The answer is no. Okay. So sometimes people tolerate artificial sweeteners, but as if you already have type 2, you have insulin resistance, you have a very good chance that any kind of sweetener will make you more insulin resistant. Because people who get insulin resistance usually don't tolerate artificial sweeteners. They've done studies of this, multiple studies, especially on diet sodas, comparing diet sodas to regular sodas. And people who drink the diet sodas gain more weight than the people who drink regular sodas, even though the regular sodas have a whole bunch of calories and the diet soda has 0 calories. And the problem is the artificial sweetener. The taste of sweet causes release of insulin. And these artificial sweeteners, monk fruits, not bad, but you know what? Stevia could be even worse. But yeah, even though it's a low glycemic sweetener, it still can cause you to be insulin resistant. And that's where the problem lies. So that's a very good question. Probably helps a lot of people to know that why is this not working? And sometimes it's artificial sweeteners that's causing it to not work.
All right. I'm going to quick announce we had 3 giveaway winners from June. Kevin, what was the giveaway that we did for June? Or not Kevin, Joe. I'm sorry.
Joe signed out.
Muted. What was that now? Sorry, I wasn't.
Okay. We had 3 winners, giveaway winners for June that Kevin wanted me to announce. And I think they've all been notified by email, but I think some of them are on this webinar possibly. But can you remind me what they won?
Let me get back to you on that.
Okay.
I will ask Cedric.
So here it is. We got it. Deborah B, Deborah S, and Sherry S were the winners. They each got a $100 digital gift certificate to Barton Nutrition.
All right.
Pretty sure some of those Deborahs might be on here for sure. But yeah, so that was the giveaway that we did. And guess what? When we do those, we'll be sure to announce those giveaways here. Okay. And I think they just had to go to our website and enter, and that's all they had to do. So as we have more of those, we will be sure to let you guys know. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. I love this question. This is from Mark. How do I stop eating bread?
Oh, Mark, I feel your pain. I do.
Right?
I am a connoisseur of bread. I used to have I would bake my own sourdough bread, and I had my oven up to 500 degrees. And I had, oh wow, I love fresh, especially fresh bread, but any kind of bread, even old crusty bread, I'll eat. So I love bread, and getting off bread has been very difficult. So what you do is you trade it for something else. And what I did is I started eating raw carrots, and that works really well, when I'm hungry, because they're hard, they're crunchy, they're cold, and they taste good. And you know what I found is, it's kind of funny, raw, or those little baby raw carrots, each one of them has a different flavor. I can taste the differences in each carrot. Like some are really sweet, some are less sweet. Anyway, so I just took up something else, and eating raw carrots is helpful. But I still have bread sometimes. But yeah, it's hard. It's hard. You just, make sacrifices because it's worth it.
Okay, great questions. All right, we have, let's see. Connie says something else that's bothering me and wondering what my body is missing is that I have extra dry skin, really brittle nails, and thinning hair. What do I need to take?
Okay, you have a protein deficiency, a protein malnutrition. You're missing protein. And most of the time, that's from a lack of stomach acid. When you eat protein, your stomach makes a hormone that increases the acid production so that you can denature, which means break apart. Those proteins are in a wad, and they have to be broken apart so that the enzymes can cut off all of the pieces. And if they stay in a wad, then they can't be broken up. And you can't use proteins. You can only use individual amino acids that are cut off of that protein. So that's where your problem is, and it's probably from the stomach. So here's one thing: if you're pre-diabetic or diabetic or have any of these issues, if you eat carbohydrates or sweeteners or anything that's primarily carbohydrate with a protein, you'll make a different amino acid, cholecystokinin, that lowers the stomach acid and prevents you from denaturing proteins and cutting them up and digesting them well. So if you're, probably a good way to do this is, number one, don't eat proteins and carbohydrates in the same meal. So if you're going to have like some fish, have some fish with a salad, like, a salmon salad, tuna salad, because lettuce and spinach and all that greens don't have a significant amount of carbohydrates, and they don't induce this hormone that suppresses the stomach acid. But things like potatoes, like a steak and potatoes, bad news. That's something you don't want. Let's see. So, and other carbohydrates and things can be concerned about is things like gravy. You don't realize it, but gravy has a lot of starch in it. And so people put gravy on meat, for example, and that starch is in the saliva is made into sugar that tells your stomach, suppress the stomach acid. So then you don't make enough acid, you don't digest proteins well. So that's number one, is don't mix the carbs with the protein. Number two is allow more time between meals. So you should have about 5 hours of nothing between meals. Why does that? Because when you eat a meal, your stomach acid has to go way up, and then between meals it resets. It goes way down and you get a reset. And then you eat again and it goes way up, and then you can digest those proteins better. A lot of people, they're snacking all the time. So they get a little bit of stomach acid and it starts dropping down. Then they eat a snack again, a little bit of stomach acid. And then so they have the stomach acid going like this instead of like this. So does that make sense?
It's good. I'm wondering, is that I actually have had a couple friends who have mentioned that they have really dry heels that crack. And I'm wondering if that could be something similar, or is that totally different?
No, different issue.
Okay.
Different issue.
Okay.
All right, so today's webinar is sponsored by, without them even knowing it, it's sponsored by Bristol Blends Coffee and Tea Company. Now, Bristol Blends is my personal favorite coffee. It has a special place in my heart because this is, it's an organization that their entire mission for this coffee is to serve the people in the Pine Ridge Reservation here in South Dakota. And these are personal friends of mine that started this company because they're missionaries and they are serving one of the most poverty-stricken, most depressed people in not just our country, but in the world. And they are a family of 10 children. They have 10 children, and they just felt God say, move to the Black Hills of South Dakota and serve these people with everything you have. So they sold everything they had and they moved, and now to help support their mission, they created this coffee company. And so this is Brian's Blend. This is my favorite coffee. Brian's Blend is a, let's see, it is a dark roast, but Brian was a friend of ours who was on the board of the Ashley Down Mission, which is part of the organization that serves in Pine Ridge. And Brian tragically passed away from a massive heart attack on Thanksgiving Day in 2019. And he was a dear friend of mine. Just shockingly, he died at the age of 49, which is, I'm 48. So like, that doesn't make any sense. He was healthy, but God took him. And in his honor, this Brian's Blend was created by my friends here at Bristol Blends, and I love this coffee. I don't drink it just because of that. I drink it because it actually is the best coffee I've ever tasted. I love it. It's air roasted. I don't know if you've ever had air roasted coffee, but I've seen the process done in Rapid City where they make this. The beans come from personally sourced places in healthy cultures, I would say, like from the mountains, literally. And so, but you got to try this coffee. It tastes amazing. All of the funds, 100% of the funds go to support this mission. And so I couldn't recommend it any higher. I wish I would have done this sponsorship before, but just getting around to it now. They don't even know I'm doing this. I'm just doing this because I love these guys and I want them to be blessed. So go to bristolblendscoffeeandtea.com. We'll put a link up there. Bristol Blends, let's see, which way do I need? Bristol Blends coffeeandtea.com. That's where you can get this. I recommend the Brian's Blend, but there are other coffees and teas that you can choose from. Load up your shopping cart, get some coffee cups to support their cause, and enjoy the coffee. It's super healthy. I like to put MCT oil in mine. I actually get the full beans. I put it in a grinder and then I put it in a French press, let it stir it for 4 minutes, press it down, drink it with some MCT oil and maybe some cream, and it is amazing. Go get some. You'll love it. And you're supporting an amazing cause and you're making a difference in this world while improving your own health. So God bless you guys. Now let's get back to the webinar.
Let's see. I love this question too. Mark says, my name is Mark from New Jersey. What's the best food I can eat?
Wow. Okay. So reading the longevity research of something like the blue zones and what helps people to live longer and a better life as far as food goes. So the number one tops on the list is chickpeas, garbanzo beans. I don't know why that is, but if you look around the world, the people that live the longest eat beans. Well, so chickpeas, garbanzo beans first, probably because they're pretty high in protein and pretty low in carbs as far as beans go. And then number two would be beans in general. People who live long, they avoid meat. But let's look at this. Carbohydrates, cause metabolic problems like diabetes and obesity and all that. Fats cause inflammation, and proteins shorten your life. So these beans have enough protein, but they're missing out certain proteins like methionine that stimulates the Th1 genes that shorten your lifespan, that increase cancer and shorten your lifespan. So proteins cause cancer, carbohydrates cause diabetes, and fats cause inflammation. So those are the only three things you have to avoid when you're eating if you want to live a long and healthy life.
Okay, a lot of questions about stevia, so we'll just address this really quick. Stevia, same thing as monk fruit is what Dr. Saunders is going to say. Your body will respond to it the same way. So we do have some more information on Barton webinar where you can find out what he has to say specifically about all sweeteners. But wouldn't you say it works the same way as monk fruit in the body?
Yeah. Stevia, because it stimulates the sweet receptors, it can cause insulin resistance, the same way the monk fruit does, or any artificial sweetener.
Right. And we have another question here from Brian. How does insulin resistance occur in type 1 diabetes?
It occurs in type 1 diabetes because people who have type 1 eat a lot of carbohydrates, and then they inject more insulin to make up for all of the carbohydrates that they've eaten. So as the amount of insulin is increased, there's two things. But as the amount of insulin that's needed is increased, that's the insulin resistance showing up, and it has to do with the diet. Now, there is another way to do that, and that is you can eat all the carbs you want. I've had people eating 300 grams of carbs a day. They're eating like fruit, like a ton of fruit and vegetables and potatoes and rice, but they have zero fat. They don't eat any fat. They don't eat like no meat, no eggs, no cheese, no dairy, nothing with fat in it. And so they don't get insulin resistance, so they can just take in all those 300 grams of carbohydrates a day. So with type 1 diabetes, you actually have a little more of a choice in that you can control pretty well on very little insulin if you don't eat fat in your diet. Or you can eat low carb. That works too.
Leslie has a physical therapy appointment to get to. We're going to let her go. Thank you, Leslie. Hope it goes well. And I'll do my best to take over controls here.
All right.
Dr.
Bye,
Saunders,
guys.
bye.
If I can figure out how to get out of here. So
yeah, hopefully we don't all go away. All right. So Dr. Saunders, you've got about 8 minutes left, 8.5. So we're going to keep rolling through this. So back to the monk fruit. So a little clarification there. We do talk about monk fruit a little bit as a sweetener in the diabetes solution kit. Is it better to have monk fruit than sugar? And why did we put it in there if we shouldn't have it for insulin resistance?
Well, we put it in there because a lot of people insist, like, I gotta have something, and what would be a better choice? And so it's not ideal, and some people do tolerate it. It's not like everyone's going to get more insulin resistant because of it. It's just more common. So this would be one of those things that you would individualize to yourself, and you would say, okay, when I eat monk fruit, do I get higher sugar levels in the morning? And if you don't, then you may tolerate it okay, and it's okay. Joe, you're muted now.
All right, okay. That helps to unmute myself. Okay, let's see. So Andrew has a customer support issue, and let me just make sure that we got that covered. I'm pretty sure Leslie sent that over to our customer support team. So Andrew, we should help you with that. Okay, Okay, Joanne says, do you recommend getting the new type of measurement that can be done without pricking your finger, and so you will know when your blood sugar is spiking? I think that's the continual glucose monitor.
Oh, I love those. I think that's so there. I just love technology, but I had a patient who brought one in. This was, several months ago, many months ago. And she had one, and she just waved it over her arm, and she showed the graph of what her blood sugar was all morning. And I'm like, wow, that's so cool. So, do I recommend it? Oh, heck yeah. If you can get one, that'd be awesome. When you prick your finger, you're getting that instant. This is what your blood sugar is right now. 10 minutes later, it's going to be different. 10 minutes before, it was different. And we don't know, is it going up or going down? You don't know what the trend is. But so these buttons, the continuous monitors, give you so much more information. Like it's amazing. I think I would pay the extra money and even buy one if I needed it, if I had blood sugar issues.
Yeah, that's kind of cool. I think you put it in typically under your arm. It's a little poke one time, but then it works for like 2 weeks. So Mark has a question. What is the best fruit for type 2s to eat?
So the best things are bell peppers, cucumbers,
avocado.
Avocado is a great one. Yeah. So all of those low starch, low sugar kinds of fruits are great. The worst fruits are any of the tropical fruits. Tropical fruits are very high. Mango, pineapple, orange, bananas, those kinds of things are very high in sugar. Oh, and I'm sorry, berries. I should mention berries are good. Mm-hmm. So the best fruits are cucumber, avocado, bell pepper, and berries.
Yeah, the berries typically have more fiber in them. That's one of the reasons that it's better, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, let me see here. Rakat had a question. Let's see. I have trouble. My doctor said kale is good, but I'm trying to find out what are the 3 vegetables that I shouldn't eat. I think we may have had an email that goes out that says, don't eat this vegetable, and it might talk about kale, but there's a reason for that, and it's not all kale. You want to talk about that?
Kale. A lot of people say you shouldn't eat kale because it's a goitrogen, and it has something in it that binds magnesium and calcium. Oxalic acid can be absorbed in the body and cause kidney stones and stuff like that. However, what's really interesting about that is the oxalic acid in the kale. I had a nutritionist who was in my office. She worked in my office, and she looked at kale and she goes, "Oh my gosh, kale is the best thing in the world. If you look at the nutrient to calorie ratio of kale, it is by far the best food known to man." So she was eating it breakfast, lunch, and dinner, chopping it into her salads, putting it in her soup, putting it on her vegetables. Everything is kale this and kale that. Every meal, she got toxic on kale. She got so much oxalic acid, it was binding all her magnesium, and she was getting cramps, and she goes, "I can't sleep at night. I don't know what's wrong." She found out she was toxic. So you can get too much. Just like this was our how we started out with this is toxicity. That diabetes or type 2 is toxicity of carbohydrates, especially, but fats and proteins as well. And getting too much. Well, she got too much kale. So it's not that you should never eat kale. It's not that those vegetables are bad for you. It's that if you eat too much, then it can cause a problem. Kale still has the best nutrient to calorie ratio of any food in the world. So there's nothing wrong with it.
Seems our bodies seem to thrive if you're eating a variety of vegetables and things like that instead of just one, right?
Yeah, variety and intermittent. Don't eat the same thing every day. That's not good for you. Even your pills, your vitamin pills, if you take the same thing every day for long periods of time, you stop absorbing them. It's kind of important to. One of the reasons we use that magnesium spray is because we looked at a study that magnesium, if you take a pill, within 90 days of taking magnesium, your absorption drops to about 30%. So, it's not good to eat the same thing every day. Even to take the same vitamin every day is not necessarily good.
Yeah. Yep. Okay, let's see here. I'm new to this. This is Michelle, and I'm taking Combiglize. Combiglize. I haven't heard of that one. As well as insulin shots before meals and 1 shot before bedtime. I'm basically already eating low carb. If I start the phase 1, is it possible to come off the shots as well? I have type 2.
Maybe. I would say yes if you have type 2. But you might have type 1.5, and that's where you're making some insulin, but not enough. And so the best way to do that is look at your insulin levels and do an insulin resistance index. So if they'll do that, if they'll do those give you those numbers, then because you're injecting insulin, then be careful when you draw the insulin level that you also do a C-peptide level. The C-peptide only comes from the pancreas, and it tells you how much insulin your pancreas is making. So that way you're not just measuring what you injected today.
All right. Let's get to one more here, and let's see. Okay, so Rosalinda, I'm 35. I've been diabetic, and I'm in desperate need to control my blood sugar levels. They've been in the 300s. I've been cutting out all carbs, and I've used monk fruit and stevia, but my sugars are still high. The crazy thing is that my doctor stated that my sugars go really high starting at midnight, which was suggested to eat before bedtime, like almonds, but it still comes high in the morning. I'd like to schedule an appointment as soon as possible. So maybe talk about why the blood sugars might go higher at midnight, and maybe you can talk about the 610 program as well.
Okay. Being in the 300s, that means it's high. And if you're averaging mostly in the high levels, it's really important to find out what your insulin levels are, because if you have, insulin's in the hundreds and your blood sugar's in the hundreds, you have a lot of insulin resistance, but your pancreas is putting out so much insulin over time, including what you're injecting, and then do the C-peptide level. So what that does, that gives you information on, oh, my pancreas is making enough insulin. I'm just insulin resistant. Therefore, you go on phase 1 of the program and you keep cutting out the carbs and don't do the monk fruit or stevia. Don't take anything sweet into your body at all. Just eat a protein vegetable diet, essentially, until you get that insulin resistance down. Then you won't need insulin at all. So that would be the best way to get off the insulin. But you don't know until you test, if you've never tested your pancreas function. And that's with a insulin level, C-peptide level, and an insulin resistance index.
Excellent. Okay. Well, it is top of the hour. And Dr. Saunders, I know you need to get back to seeing real patients with your lovely bow tie today. So thank you very much. I'm going to stay on a little bit longer and try to help a few more questions get answered here and give some more resources. But we'll let you go, Dr. Saunders.
Awesome.
Thank you very much. Great to see you.
See you.
Appreciate it.
Bye.
Bye-bye. All right. So now we're down to just me. This could be scary, but I'm going to do my best. Okay. So first of all, I just wanted to say that, this is episode 97 of the Fixed Blood Sugar webinar. And that means we've had 96 of these before, and they're all posted on YouTube. So if you go to YouTube and search for Barton Webinars, you can find our channel, and then just subscribe to that channel and start watching those, because we've covered hundreds of different questions in the past. And you can also search in the on YouTube in our channel for some keywords. So if you have specific questions, maybe it's about metformin or foods to eat or different things like that, you should be able to find a list in, in the comments or in the description of the videos that can, so you can laser focus in on the questions that you might have. But just watching more of these, I think you'll find helpful, and the more you can educate yourself and hear Dr. Saunders explaining things, it is really helpful for people that are looking to reverse type 2. So highly recommend you get on our YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button, and you can put questions or comments in there as well if you can't join us live. And also, if you're watching us on YouTube and you want to join us live, you can go to bartonwebinar.com and register, get your email signed up, and you'll get notified when we're going live next week, which is every Thursday at 11 a.m. Central Time. And so we'd love to have you join us. We have a little bit of room left on the Zoom. But as you can see, these are super valuable because you get your own questions answered. And this is all for free for our customers of Barton Publishing and Barton Nutrition. So, all right, I'm going to try to answer a few more questions here. Let's see. So, Andrew, I did mention if you had customer support issues, just give us a call. 888-356-1146 is our phone number. And we've got customer support reps that are available. I think it's from like 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. Eastern time, if I remember correctly. And okay, let's go to, I think I already answered that one from Michelle and Rosalinda. Okay, so Rosalinda, you had another question about green juicing, if green juicing is good for diabetes type 2. So we talk about juicing. One of the issues with juicing is that you're getting rid of most of the fiber. So if you can juice while keeping the fiber in, like if you're using a blender that just kind of mixes it up but keeps the fiber, that is typically okay and pretty good. But if you're using a juicer that squeezes out all the pulp and you're just drinking the juice that comes out of it, then typically that affects your blood sugars negatively because it spikes your blood sugars faster. And it depends what you're putting in the green, or what kind of fruits and vegetables you're using for the green juice as well. So we have a list of, in the Diabetes Solution Kit, we have a list of fruits and vegetables that are typically low in carbohydrates, low in sugars. And so you should be able to use that as a guide. So things like spinach or peppers and things like that are great, and typically are satisfying. They're full of nutrients as well. So, all right, what else do we have here? Kidney stones. Okay, Richard, this is actually kind of close to my heart. So I actually got into the health world because of kidney stones. Not that I had it, but back in 2004, so I used to be a CPA, an accountant. I did public accounting for 7 years. That was my training in college, and kind of before I knew what I wanted to be when I grew up. But so quick story, my wife and I started having kids, and after 2, we're like, all right, God, we're going to take a leap of faith and have Amanda stay home with the boys instead of sending them off to daycare. But what that meant is our income got cut in half. And so that's when I started like looking for ways to supplement my income. And I found digital marketing and ebook marketing online. And I took a course and I learned how to write marketing copy, sales copy, copywriting, how to put up a website, how to create a product. And my second product I ever made was a kidney stone remedy, and that was getridofkidneystones.com is the website that we still have out there. But the remedy for that, there's a few different ones. We have a report on it, but I'll just tell you what it is, and you can get our report if you want. You can actually go to bartonpublishing.com and use that coupon code webinar25 to save 25%. But the remedy is, this sounds strange, but it's a 6-pack of Well, at the time we would say Coca-Cola. Don't recommend that anymore. Really, it's just like a lot of liquids. So you drink like a gallon of water, or probably with electrolytes would be best. Like put salt in your water, and then pureed asparagus. So you take asparagus, cook it up, and then puree it and drink that. And it's a diuretic, and I think together those like flush your urinary tract system, and it helps to get those kidney stones flushed out. So we did use Coca-Cola, and I don't know for sure the science on it, but like there's stories about how Coca-Cola, if you put a nail in a can of Coke or whatever, it'll dissolve within a few days. And so what I think happens is the acid in the Coke helps to, now imagine a kidney stone of being sharp, jagged edged rock inside of your kidney, and then as it's trying to pass through the passageway, is it the ureter? I can't remember if that's what it's called, or I think it's the ureter, from the kidney to the bladder. And like imagine jagged rocks trying to go through this tiny little opening, and that's what's causing all the pain. So if you can get those to not be, to kind of round up, like that's going to be a lot easier to pass through that ureter. And so that's one of the remedies. There's also a celery seed tea cleanse that we talk about. There's a watermelon remedy. And so those remedies, you have to, I would use your best judgment. If you have diabetes and blood sugar issues, you probably don't want to use those liquids with sugar in them. But anyways, kidney stones, super painful. That website was my first health website. I'm not a health expert, but I found this remedy. My mom actually told me about it. Her chiropractor used that remedy to dissolve his kidney stones. And so at the time in my life, I was looking for like solutions to problems. That's really what our business was serving, is like, okay, how do we find a problem that we can solve and then share it, and people will be happy to pay for it. So kidney stone remedy report was launched, and then from there we launched all sorts of other reports, including the reflux remedy report, and then eventually the diabetes solution kit report, high blood pressure report. I think we launched like 30 different reports way back over 10, 12 years ago, and we've now kind of narrowed our focus to type 2 and blood pressure for the most part, because it's such a big problem. And but yeah, when we get people that have kidney stones, we can get them that report, and that helps quite a bit. So and then, as Dr. Saunders would say too, whenever you have health problems, like try to figure out what's the root cause. Why did you get kidney stones? And that's something else that we talk about in the report, and something that you want to probably try to figure out. So, and really, that's what I love about Dr. Saunders, is he is a functional doctor, which means he looks for the root cause of the problem, and as opposed to traditional medical doctors that they look for the symptoms that you're having, and then they look for a drug that will treat the symptoms, but you're never addressing the root cause. And so, I mean, why wouldn't you want to get rid of the actual problem? And he uses the kitchen sink analogy, where if you have a clogged sink and the water is running and water is spilling out onto your kitchen floor, the analogy goes, if you're a traditional medical doctor, well, the problem is you're spilling water on the floor, so here's a mop. And they give you a mop so you can clean up the water that's spilling up on the floor. And the mop is basically like insulin, which is trying to, soak that up or whatever. But wouldn't it be better to just first turn off the faucet and stop the leak to begin with, and then look at fixing the clogged sink? And so that's what, when you reduce your carbs to 20 grams a day, you're turning off that faucet of too much sugar that's going into your body and spilling over and causing all sorts of problems. So that's what happens when your blood sugar is high. There's too much sugar. So shut off the sink, shut off the carbs, and then you'll see that go down. Then you can clean up the spill, and you can address the clogged sink part. And typically the clogged sink takes care of itself as you shut off the carbs. So, and then there's other things that we teach as well in the diabetes solution kit. So I thought that was a great analogy. Thanks for staying on here, you guys. There's over 50 people still on here. So I know I'm not a doctor, but I've been on, almost 97 of these webinars myself now. So I've heard a lot of these questions and answers from Dr. Saunders in the past. So happy to stay and share. All right, let's see, over to the chat. Let me go back and find, thanks for the compliment, Brian. Let me go scroll back. We've had a lot of chat messages come in. I just want to make sure I didn't miss any. I did ask a question. I don't know if anyone mentioned it, but sometimes people have a little bit of a fear or hesitation in pricking their fingers with the blood glucose, monitor. Wondering if anyone has any tips or tricks on how to overcome that, because it's a little bit of a prick and a kind of like, I think the anticipation is worse than anything. But what do you recommend? Put it in the chat. How do you get over that initial little fear of the prick? Because it's important to measure your numbers. And so somebody started the program, their blood sugars were over 300, and they weren't sure where their sugars were now. And it's been over a month. It's been since May since they started, and they weren't sure where they were at. So I just recommended, hey, get one of those monitors and let's do it. And he just mentioned the hesitation with that. So, and I think it's just like, all right, you just got to do it. And it's really not that bad. Like it kind of hurts for like a millisecond, but then it's over with. So just go do it and it's done. And like, get a little blood, put it in there, and you're good to go. So, okay. So Mohammed had a question about smoking. And I apologize if I missed, if these were already answered earlier, because I was distracted for a little bit, and Leslie may have addressed some of these, but does smoking impact your diabetes? That one, honestly, I don't know for sure. I know Dr. Saunders has said something that's a little contrarian about smoking, is that it kind of comes down to your stress levels. And so if, we're not recommending smoking, but there have been cases where people have stopped smoking and then their stress levels went way up, because apparently smoking helps to reduce stress and anxiety for some people. But if you don't address the cause of the stress and you stop smoking and your stress levels go up, then that can actually be worse for you. So I would say just be careful, and highly recommend stopping smoking. Obviously, it's not good for you, but when you do that, make sure you replace, make sure you just don't get stressed out about it. Find something healthy to reduce your stress, whether that's prayer and meditation or exercise, or just going for walks in nature, things like that. Another cause that we haven't talked a lot about, and maybe this is an issue for some people, is forgiveness in your heart. If you have any relationships, any people in your life that you're holding a grudge against, or have negative feelings towards, or bitterness or whatever, and maybe you don't even know if you do or not. This happened to me a couple of years ago. I had a business partnership that kind of went south, and I was kind of holding I forgave him and moved on, but then there was still part of me that apparently I hadn't let go of, and I had a quiet time, and I think God was just telling me, like, there's still a little bit more of a bitterness there that you just need to let go of. And so I did that. I actually called him and just said, hey, I need to apologize. I've been holding this against you a little bit. Please forgive me. I let it all go. And ever since then, man, like, that was a huge weight off of me. My stress levels were reduced. But in your own life, what relationships, that's usually the cause of unforgiveness. Somebody's offended you or hurt you. And if you hold on to that unforgiveness, that really can hurt hurt you. And so for your own health, do what you can to forgive anyone and everybody, no matter what they've done to you, no matter how hard it's been. It's for your best interest to forgive and move on. And it's really, if you're a person of faith, Jesus talks about how if you don't forgive someone else, then you won't be forgiven of your own sins and mistakes. And well, we don't want that to happen. But that's a principle I think that is really powerful. And so do what you can to not hold grudges, to forgive quickly, forgive completely, search yourself in that. And maybe that will be the source to reduce your stress and not need to have, different things like smoking or maybe even eating disorders. Sometimes stress is covered by eating comfort foods. That's very common. And so if you can deal with that root cause, again, that can be very powerful. So, all right, back to the chats here. Let's see. How do I get a shirt like that? I'm glad you like my shirt. So this is our new logo that we launched a little over a year ago, Paul. Paul, I did mention if you send me a picture, like I mentioned, I'll hook you up with the shirt. So, okay, let's see here. Dell, let's see. This is a little bit of a longer one here. I'm going to save that one for Dr. Saunders. And let me just scroll. I got to get a little bit closer to the end of our call here. People are jumping off. That's okay. Somebody asked about Mission tortillas. So there are some low-carb tortilla shells out there, soft shells. And when I was doing my low-carb last month, I had those myself. They're 4 grams of net carbs. But honestly, so when I looked at the ingredients, it said there was like 19 grams of carbs and then like 15 grams of fiber. And so to calculate net carbs, you take the carbs minus the fiber and hence the 4 grams. But I don't know what they used for fiber because when I looked at the ingredients label, I didn't see anything that had fiber in it. So I don't know what it was. I would say use it, like test it, try it, test your blood sugars after you eat it, see if it's helpful. But also be a little careful because it could be false advertising. I don't know for sure if I can recommend that. Cauliflower pizza, cauliflower crust, cauliflower bread. That is usually a better option. The net carbs are lower typically than regular flour crusts. But again, you have to be careful with that. Look at the labels and just be careful with that. So, all right. Somebody asked if, let's see, Krish. Hello, Krish. Can I take 2 Nervala tablets, 1 in the morning and 1 in the evening as I continue on with Synachroma? Definitely yes. Perfectly okay with that. That's actually the recommended amount, especially for the first 60 days. 2 Nervalas, either at the same time, or I think we actually recommend doing it that way, 1 in the morning, 1 in the evening, both times with a meal that has fat in it, and as well as Synachroma. So Synachroma, you can do morning or evening. Morning is preferred, like Dr. Saunders recommended. So let's see here. We're getting close to the end. All right, so today's webinar is sponsored by, without them even knowing it, it's sponsored by Bristol Blends Coffee and Tea Company. Now, Bristol Blends is my personal favorite coffee. It has a special place in my heart because this is, it's an organization that their entire mission for this coffee is to serve the people in the Pine Ridge Reservation here in South Dakota. And these are personal friends of mine that started this company because they're missionaries and they are serving one of the most poverty-stricken, most depressed people in not just our country, but in the world. And they are a family of 10 children. They have 10 children, and they just felt God say, move to the Black Hills of South Dakota and serve these people with everything you have. So they sold everything they had and they moved, and now to help support their mission, they created this coffee company. And so this is Brian's Blend. This is my favorite coffee. Brian's Blend is a let's see, it is a dark roast, but Brian was a friend of ours who was on the board of the Ashley Down Mission, which is part of the organization that serves in Pine Ridge. And Brian tragically passed away from a massive heart attack on Thanksgiving Day in 2019. And he was a dear friend of mine. Just shockingly, he died at the age of 49, which is, I'm 48. So like, that doesn't make any sense. He was healthy, but God took him. And in his honor, this Brian's Blend was created by my friends here at Bristol Blends. And I love this coffee. I don't drink it just because of that. I drink it because it actually is the best coffee I've ever tasted. I love it. It's air roasted. I don't know if you've ever had air roasted coffee, but I've seen the process done in Rapid City where they make this. The beans come from personally sourced places in healthy cultures, I would say, like from the mountains, literally. And so, but you got to try this coffee. It tastes amazing. All of the funds, 100% of the funds go to support this mission. And so I couldn't recommend it any higher. I wish I would have done this sponsorship before, but just getting around to it now. They don't even know I'm doing this. I'm just doing this because I love these guys and I want them to be blessed. So go to bristolblendscoffeeandtea.com. We'll put a link up there. Bristol Blends, let's see, which way do I get? Bristol Blends coffeeandtea.com. That's where you can get this. I recommend the Brian's Blend, but there are other coffees and teas that you can choose from. Load up your shopping cart, get some coffee cups to support their cause, and enjoy the coffee. It's super healthy. I like to put MCT oil in mine. I actually get the full beans. I put it in a grinder and then I put it in a French press, let it stir it for 4 minutes, press it down, drink it with some MCT oil and maybe some cream, and it is amazing. Go get some. You'll love it. And you're supporting an amazing cause and you're making a difference in this world while improving your own health. So God bless you guys. Now let's get back to the webinar. Okay, that might be all of them. There's a gallbladder question, and that's above my pay grade. And let's see, getting some compliments, so thank you very much. Sam from Malaysia, when will I get my order delivered? So Sam, I would recommend you call our customer support number at 888-356-1146, and they can look up your order and find out about that. You know, with international shipping this past year, things have gotten crazy, as you can imagine. It's a lot harder to get things delivered quickly. We've recently modified our shipping so that we're using FedEx more regularly. And so FedEx typically has a faster delivery time, better tracking, things like that. So we're doing our best, but we have to work with the hand that we're dealt in this world of shipping and COVID and all the different regulations, especially international shipping. There's a lot of customs and forms that need to be filled out, and sometimes they get stuck and sometimes they get just completely removed out of the system. So we do what we can, we do our best, but yeah, sometimes that happens. But I don't know when you ordered, Sam, but we can look that up for you if you just give us a call. All right. Greg, question about shelf life. Not sure what that was. So maybe we can get to that next time, but I think that's it, everybody. Thanks for hanging on here. Again, you can go to our YouTube channel and watch more of our webinars with Dr. Saunders and myself and Leslie. And we also have a Tuesday webinar that if you're still watching us right now, that might mean you are big fans of ours. But Tuesdays, we do a low carb Actually, it's every other Tuesday, and we just did one this week, so it'll be in like 12 days from now. But low carb with Dana. Dana is a friend of ours. She teaches people how to eat low carb, different recipes and food suggestions, and she's really good at coming up with good tasting foods. And she's a health coach. She's really done a lot of good for us as well. So we teamed up with her to do a Tuesday call. If you go to bartonwebinar.com, you can find the little sign up area on the page to register for that Tuesday call. And then you'll be notified when we're going live with her next time. And you can also, we've recorded, I think we've done 5 or 6 of those so far, and that's also on our YouTube channel. So if you want to watch some of those with Dana, hop on over there, check them out. Really good stuff to help you guys eat low carb. So, all right, I am going to sign off. And thanks for joining us today, everybody. We appreciate you being on. Always good to connect with you. I wish we could have like actual conversation back and forth, but the chat works pretty well. But maybe someday we'll open it up to have some video interaction. But for now, that's it. Signing off. And, keep doing your best. You guys are awesome. We love to hear your success stories. We love to hear the hope that you're giving to each other when you share that. So we'll see you guys next time. Take care. God bless. Bye-bye.